And we're so back on college football tradition. I'm Bryan Partiga, joined alongside Vanderford and Miller. We're here to talk about some of the things going on in the college football world. Finally, a resolution on the Brendan Sorsby situation down in Lubbock, Texas, or, Indiana, Cincinnati, all the places that he's stopped and vetted at. We also have some updates on some of the changes occurring in college football, and we finally have game times. We're under 100 days away from the start of the college football season, which means we're starting to get some of those game times, recognizing what days games are falling on, what times games are falling on, who's going to be playing at noon, who's playing at night during some of these marquee games of the first couple weeks of the season. But definitely want to start with the Brendan Sorsby news. So the NCAA denied his eligibility for this upcoming year after all of the betting things that have come out, betting on his own team when he was at Indiana, apparently to feel a little bit more connected to the team. But guys, what are y'all's thoughts on this? Is this the correct decision by the NCAA, or is it a little too harsh?
I'll let you start, Jacob.
Oh man, I was waiting for you. Um, I honestly don't. I don't have thoughts on Brendan Sorsby. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. I
I
guess
mean,
do
I
we
think
think it's a good precedent to set?
yeah, I mean, we kind of discussed it a little bit what before all this new information came out, but I think obviously it's not a good look anytime like a college athlete is involved with gambling. I think it's like people have become a little bit more um, aware of it happening in like professional leagues, and like they may not think it's that big of a deal like if like an NBA player is doing it or something. Um or an NFL player, but I think that it's seen as more of a big deal when it's a college athlete, even though, we're now in the day and age where there's NIL and everything. Um, so I think going forward, I mean, I assume that if people in charge of, college football and everything are looking to maybe relegate things with the transfer portal and NIL, that this is a step in the right direction of, denying somebody eligibility for gambling. It's definitely something that gives them a better look at least because I think that there's probably a lot of people out there that don't really like the NCAA,
Mhm.
and if they were to grant him more eligibility with like maybe little to no punishment for this, it's probably not gonna help their case that much.
Yeah, I think that this was one of those rare cases that it was kind of a layup for the NCAA, who ultimately, when I look at that organization as a whole, they're putting on great tournaments outside of college football, right? But whenever they've stepped their toes into this sport, the sport that we talk about all the time, it's kind of hard for them to really make the right move in the eyes of the public. But I feel like this was the right move. I don't see a lot of Texas Tech fans really pushing back against this, which is a little surprising, not because it's Texas Tech, but because just that's the fandom of extremist college sports fans in general. So I feel like this is something that had to be done. If we have players betting on their own teams, like it does ruin the integrity of the game. And I saw Paul Feinbaum come out and say he wanted this to be a 3 game suspension, which I just don't think was enough for the level of severity that I think that this was. So for me, I think it's the right call. Do I want Sorsby to continue playing football? Yes, absolutely. I hope he does get that chance. I don't know what that'll look like. I don't know if it'll be going supplemental draft pro, or if it'll be like, can he take a year off? I'm not sure what those things look like going forward, but ultimately, I think it's the right decision. This is a big deal, and you have to set a precedent early on. Any other thoughts on the Texas
Yeah,
Tech Sorsby? Yeah.
I'm really interested to see who the new quarterback is going to be. Oh, sorry. I was really interested to see who the next quarterback is going to be at Texas Tech. With Sorsby being out, I'm just like looking at who they have on the roster. They have Will Hammond, who was the backup for Baron Morton last year, and he tore his ACL last October when they beat Oklahoma State. So that'll be interesting to see how he comes back from that. They've got him Lloyd Jones III, who's a redshirt freshman, appeared in one game against West Virginia last year. They have a guy named Kirk Francis who played at Tulsa in 18 games. He completed 58% of his passes. He had 3,045 yards, 18 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. So not a great touchdown to interception ratio, but
Hmm.
has starting experience. Then you've got Stephen Cannon on the roster, who's a true freshman. You've got Holden Phillips, who is a walk-on. So I'm curious just to see how this affects everything, just with the dominoes that are falling, because obviously Sorsby was going to be their starter. I think Texas Tech has enough talent to be in the thick of things in the Big 12 next year again. But obviously, like, quarterbacks are really what make these offenses and teams run. They're the engine behind things. And so if you don't have a quarterback that can really win games in the 2-minute warning of the fourth quarter, and all that kind of stuff, if they can't march down the field and get a win for you, and you don't have that confidence in a quarterback being able to lead your team like that, it puts your team in a tough position. So I'm just curious to see, with those options, what the Red Raiders look like next year.
Yeah, I think the door's definitely open for BYU. We know how good they were last year, not against Tech in both of their opportunities per se, but in the other games, I thought that BYU just dominated, looked good and better on offense throughout the year, continually an 11-win team over the past 2 years. So I think that this is a good opportunity for them to maybe take advantage, possibly even Utah. I know Whittingham's gone, but they have a coach who has been waiting in the wings for years. So they are going to be with the same system in a lot of ways. Still, Dampier is back as well. So there's opportunity. There's windows that are open for other schools. So it's going to be interesting to see if Hammond can kind of hold the load, or what they decide to do at quarterback over in
A
Love.
sneaky pick, I feel like, in the Big 12 is Oklahoma State. I feel like I think we might have talked about it in our last podcast, but for me, Oklahoma State might be the Indiana of this next year, as a bold take. I don't think they're going to win a championship. Let's be clear, but I do think that they have a shot to make some noise and potentially make a playoff as kind of a lower seed in that playoff rankings, because you've got quarterback coming in from North Texas. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Someone help me.
Oh, gosh. Drew Mestemaker.
Drew Mestemaker. Thank you. You've got the running back from North Texas coming in as well as a transfer. You've got Wyatt Young, I believe his name is, who's the wide receiver from North Texas, coming in.
Basically,
that team had a great roster going in, playing against the Tulane team that was also hot at the time. And Tulane obviously made the playoff. And so I think that team has the experience coming in. It's just a matter of how do they play in a new environment. Eric Morris is coming in as the new coach. That's going to be a high-flying offense. I'm just curious to see how the defense translates into the Big 12, although I feel like the Big 12 has always been kind of that air raid type offense. So I think they can be successful. So that's kind of my sleeper pick in a league that has, like Bryan, you said, your Utahs, your even your TCUs of the world. You've got Harvard quarterback coming in. We'll see what kind of noise he can make as well. So yeah, definitely some teams to look out for, along with BYU outside of Texas Tech.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of those games that's going to be really showing for the Big 12, if you do talk about Oklahoma State potentially being a dark horse, is Oregon coming into town. They go to Stillwater this year. We know what that game looked like last year in Eugene. Basically showed Mike Gundy the door. It was just a bloodbath. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the best in the Big 10 look when they're on the road in the Big 12 against a potential up-and-comer. So that'll be really good for the showcase of the league overall. But we'll definitely get into some of those early season games soon as well. Lucas, you're wearing a jersey. Do you want to talk about what jersey you're wearing right now?
See if I can move this down a little bit. So this is Lamar Jackson's high school jersey. I got this at I guess like a jersey store a couple of years ago. I think, I don't know, probably like 2021 or something. I was there, I think, with like my grandmother and someone else in my family, and I was like looking around at all the jerseys, and I saw that one, and I knew that it was like Lamar's high school jersey. So I remember seeing like the clip where he would juke the one dude out that was back on like Vine all the time, and I was
Yeah,
like,
I got
"Oh
that
wait,
here.
that's that jersey. I have to have that." So, it's probably one of the cooler jerseys I have. I have a couple of interesting ones, but yeah, this one's cool. Oh wow, you brought that up.
Yeah, it was literally the one video I remember
Yeah,
from Pat's.
yeah, it's sick.
I love it. Just absolutely amazing. That's sweet. I love it. I'm not a huge jersey collector. Got a TCU baseball jersey on, but I don't have any football
Yup.
jerseys. No, just yeah. Growing up, I think
I
I
have
had
a
a
story
Browns jersey.
about a jersey that I have. I didn't bring it because I'm in my office, but at home I have a Bengals jersey. It's Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, and he signed it. And my uncle got it for me like 1 year for Christmas, and so like any chance I get, I gotta rep it. So
That's
that's a
pretty
fun one
cool.
too.
That's definitely a cool one. That is sweet. Yeah, big Andy Dalton guy.
Yup.
So other news from today, is that there's a bipartisan bill going through the Senate. We will see what ends up happening with this, but Senators Ted Cruz from Texas and Maria Cantwell from Washington, they announced plans today for a bipartisan college sports bill. And some of the things that it introduces are interesting. Some of the other things I'm not so sure on. But overall, I think it could be a really good thing as we talk about the antitrust within college sports as well. So, one of the things that was talked about in this bill was that it would limit kind of like the agent registry, like limiting fees to 5%. So, hopefully, these players wouldn't have to pay exuberant amounts for agents or anything like that, or as they kind of think about other options when it comes to their finances. So that was one of the big things. But one of the things that it talked about was the Lane Kiffin rule. So having coaches cannot leave in the middle of the season, basically. I'm curious on what this is supposed to mean when it comes to firing coaches, because if they're not allowed to leave, are they allowed to get fired? So that's kind of one of the things that I'm curious on. What is y'all's thoughts on like that specific thing in general?
I find it so funny that they called it the Lane Kiffin rule because I mean he's been doing this for years. I mean, you think about back in Tennessee, leaving Knoxville in the middle of the night to go to USC, like it's just always been happening. And I do feel like you said, I wish that there was some more clarity on the firing part of things, because then I don't know. I just feel like it puts different teams in bad positions because like if a team fires their coach and they have an interim and then maybe another team is looking to hire that coach, so that means they need to fire their current coach. There's just a lot of different things that would happen in those scenarios. And so I would hope in the future if there were like amendments to this, that would be something they would think about. But yeah, I'm glad that they put it together because I do feel like that has had a real impact on college football. And you think back to last year with Ole Miss going into the playoff, they had the best year ever within that school's history. And Lane Kiffin's just like, yeah, I need to go to LSU. I just feel like it's better for recruiting, better for me personally, all these different things. I'm like, man, like, why can't you just finish out your season with this team
Yeah.
that has a chance to win a national title? And they did
Yeah.
really well in the playoff. And with Trinidad Chambliss coming back next year, who knows what Ole Miss is going to look like? But yeah, I just felt bad for the players and the coaching staff and all of that. And so I'm glad that they're shedding some light on this.
Yeah. I mean, first off, with Ole Miss, I mean, they came down to what a Hail Mary against Miami, right? To
Yeah.
possibly end up being in the championship. So you could imagine what it could have been like if they had Lane Kiffin and they were playing with that kind of momentum. Um, but yeah, the what you brought up, Brian, about the coaches leaving as opposed to them being fired is pretty interesting because I would think that for a team's benefit, like for example with Penn State, like when they fired Franklin, I know that like everything that happened after that ended up being very good. Like at least for like myself as a Penn State fan, like you think like Terry Smith was able to take them to win a bowl game and like that's something that you'll look back on. But it's like in this sense of if you're saying they are you saying like they shouldn't be able to fire a coach then if a coach can't leave?
I mean, I think it's just going to be a hard rule to like, it's going to be weird because you're going to have coaches who are going to be talking to other programs. If
Yeah,
you're allowed
that's
to fire a coach, like, let's say LSU, for instance, let's say they fired their coach. Why wouldn't Lane Kiffin be able to talk to LSU? All that news is going to be breaking, but he can't leave Ole Miss. So it's just going to be a muddy
yeah,
situation. I know it already was, but that's
right.
kind of just like where weird. It's kind of how do you regulate that?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm kind of thinking is like if so, like for a team's benefit, 100% you should be able to fire somebody if you feel that an intern's going to be able to step in and like it'll still be okay. I mean, that happened with Ole Miss and it's happened with teams before, but there definitely has to be some sort of like there it's a weird line because there has to be a rule that like yeah, the coach you can't say that a coach can't talk to other teams because that's pretty much going against him trying to find a job, trying to find, employment. But at the same time, it's like there is that level to it that seems that it's like tampering. So it's
Mhm.
like how I just don't really see how they're gonna be able to justify not being able to leave a school for another school. Like I would say that like yeah, you once the season ends, then it becomes official that they sign as a new coach elsewhere, but they're still going to have to go through that period of talking with other teams. So I don't really see how they're going to regulate that whole, transaction between that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big one. Ugh. It makes sense. I mean, I think it it would have stopped a few situations. There are a few situations where I think it could have helped, but ultimately it's very nitpicky, it seems like, because this doesn't happen a ton. I know it happens and then it's big news, but it's not like it happens everywhere all the time. So it's kind of one that I'd be interested to watch play out. I'm not saying I disagree or agree with it, but need to see a situation where I see the full effects of the rule, I guess.
Do you guys think they'll ever put a timeline on just like that whole process of talking to coaches? Because I know, like, similar to recruiting, similar to the transfer portal, like there are dead periods of like you cannot recruit during this time or whatever. Do you think that there's going to be something like that with the coaching cycle?
There has
what
to
is
be.
the current coaching cycle if you like off the top of your head, do you know like what because I know that I thought that technically it's supposed to fall sometime in December, right? Where like people can fire coaches underneath them. Like, you know what I mean? Isn't there a certain point that like that is supposed to happen at?
I
I
mean,
don't
out of
know.
respect, it should happen at the end of the season. But then if you see one program do it, you kind of have the dominoes just start falling, right?
Yeah, I was only saying in December because I feel like there's so many early bowl games that you see
Yeah.
the transition period of group of five coaches where there's an interim head coach coaching in like the Cure Bowl or something that's going on early. So it's like I feel that almost would work that like you could have it be after Army and Navy week but before the playoffs start or something like that. You know what I mean? Like there like it's a couple week period in between there. But then I think that it has to be ruled differently for the teams that are in the CFP.
like everything, right? Like same thing with like the transfer rules. If we're going into mid-January, most semesters have already started on these college campuses. So when we talk about transferring, it's already different for the CFP participating teams. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to watch that one particularly play out. One of the other things that this bill, the Protect College Sports Act bill, talked about would be establishing a 5-year eligibility rule for college athletes and prohibit professional players from participating in college athletics if they've ever earned compensation for their sport or earned prize money, even if it was in Europe, which is definitely new. That's something that's always been kind of going on. So, kind of like antitrust protections around like that transfer stuff. What do you guys think that would be looking like? Like you would be given one free transfer, but then you wouldn't be able to really transfer again. And then the compensation part of it, like we can't take in professional athletes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the one free transfer rule personally, just because it limits. Like I keep talking about this, but I miss the college football where like we were in the same conferences that we used to be in. We had like I like the playoff structure. Don't get me wrong, but I just miss like the loyalty to programs. And I feel like now college football is turning into like we're following the players rather than we're following the schools as fans. I feel like, I mean, obviously we have our teams because like we've gone to the schools, but like I feel like for the average college football fan, it's like, okay, I'm following Lamar Jackson, the player. And Lamar Jackson obviously didn't transfer, but like if he were to transfer to an Oregon or something like that, those fans would follow Lamar Jackson. Like they wouldn't follow that Oregon team, I guess. And so I feel like all of like if you're transferring 3, 4 times, it's destroying just kind of like the loyalty that you have for the school and being able to like build that school up and seeing, some of these smaller schools get a chance at a playoff college football championship. So I miss that. And I think with this new rule of like a one transfer, I think we might get some more competition from some of these schools that may not be getting a lot of love from some of the schools that aren't the blue bloods quite as much of the college football world. So I'm a fan of it. I think just there's too many transfers now.
Does this rule, um, is this just a football thing, or was that going across the NCAA?
I think that's going across the NCAA, which
Okay,
is
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
I
and
don't
it also
know.
talks about how like the College Sports Commission that would be kind of vamped up would have the ability to enforce these rules without legal challenge, which is like, isn't that the NCAA's job? But yeah, I think it would be across the board. Like,
Yeah, because you mentioned like the pro players and the players from like Europe.
mm,
So I know that I don't know if you've looked at it a lot, but have you seen like what LSU has done in basketball thus far? I mean, I saw a graphic the
yeah,
other day where a player was like in three different colleges, and then he was on the Celtics and the Jazz, and now he's on LSU, and I was like, that's gotta be like,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
RJ Lewis. He used to play for
yeah,
St. John's. He was the Big East Player of the
yeah,
Year.
right. I mean, I like so I understand like in the so just focusing on the football aspect of it. I think it's great if a player goes through like say there's a player that has gone through like an injury and everything and he gets a chance to go and transfer and play elsewhere. Like we've seen guys who are, have injuries who've played in the SEC or the Big Ten and they go and play, in a group of five school or in the FCS. Like I think that part of the transfer thing has been really good. But when there's guys that are like I've correct me if I'm wrong, but TJ Finley, who is like transferred to like eight different schools just
Yeah.
'cause,
yeah.
like he can't make, a starting position, that that's where it kind of gets out of hand. And that's where like I agree with Jacob in the sense of the one transfer rule, that part of it is very good, that it would help regulate this a little bit.
Yeah, the TJ Finley thing, it was interesting. There's not many cases like that, where he's going to six to eight schools. I think you were right about that. And he was getting playing time at some of them, at a lot of them actually. And then,
He
but
played at
he kind of
Auburn and
just,
LSU.
yeah, maybe not like the opportunities that like you would hope for. I feel like that this rule about like the one-time transfer thing, I feel like it's best for what it will help the most is like Division 2 and Division 3 athletes because there are thousands of careers that are ending currently this season because people are transferring from Division 2 school thinking they might get an FCS look, maybe an FBS look, and then they don't get it and then all of a sudden you're sugar out of luck. Because if you're a D2 or D3 roster, you're just trying to fill a lot of those spots. Not that it isn't special or anything like that, but you really are putting together a roster pretty quickly. And I think that it's going to be helping those athletes more than anything because there are a lot of careers that are ending in college football when people decide to transfer, even just one time. So you really got to make sure that you know what you're doing and where you're going. This would stop situations like Darian Mensah, Tulane to Duke, Duke to Miami. That wouldn't be able to happen. So this Miami kind of super team that I'm looking at for this upcoming year wouldn't be so. They'd be having to deal with whatever quarterback, whatever other kind of quarterback was in this portal cycle. I'm not really sure how many better ones there were than Mensah. I feel like he was the best. Um,
Mhm.
so I feel like that it would stop situations like that. But you really got to be strategic now if you're in that boat. I'm not sure if I have a strong opinion on like how many times you could transfer things like that. Like it doesn't matter that much in my opinion. But if it's ending thousands of careers, which ultimately end up ending thousands of educations, then I think it's a good thing. It's just more so something I'll see on the lower level than maybe the FBS. Because I think you will find an opportunity still if you're an FBS guy and want to transfer around. But that's another part of this as well. We won't dive into every single aspect of it, but kind of the last one that is really interesting. Jacob, you brought up like these conferences and the regionality of things and stuff. The bill also includes this opportunity for schools to collectively pool rights, like pool their media rights, which I think could be really, really interesting because it needs a minimum threshold, according to the bill, of 75% of the 138 FBS teams, which if you combine the Big Ten and SEC teams, the 18 and 16, it's not going to be enough to stop this, which basically means if the other schools came together, they could potentially pool media rights across the board. Like we're talking
Wow.
ESPN, Fox, NBC, like CBS. I think that that could be the biggest part of this bill that I really want people to be talking about because if the Big Ten and SEC lose that kind of power, I think it could be good for the regionality protection of the sport, especially the Olympic sports.
Yeah. So, like, what would that look like then? Because I feel like a lot of the big games that you see on ABC primetime, that you see on College Game Day and stuff like that, are SEC typically. They're those rivalry games. They're Big Ten. So, would it mean like if other teams came together, Mountain West could get like prime time, or like your Sun Belts, or like some of those other conferences could potentially get some prime time viewership, or would that like not be possible just given the Big Ten and SEC power?
I think it would be possible. It would be kind of one of those things where you like the Big Ten wouldn't be able to kind of showcase Oregon at Northwestern as their big game on CBS because all the rights would kind of be pooled. So these media entities, correct me if I'm wrong on this, they would kind of be able to work together to put the biggest games on
Yeah.
and kind of distribute the money a little bit more evenly than it is right now.
Okay, cool. I'm
I'm
for
gonna have to
that.
do I'm gonna have to do more research on that.
That's
That's how
interesting.
I'm viewing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like how pro sports does it, how like the NFL, everybody kind of makes the same from media rights from TV.
I'm curious with that too. You're talking about regionality. So like for pro sports, like your teams that are close to you. So like, if I was in Nebraska, like the games that would be showing would be like Minnesota Vikings, Kansas City
Mhm.
Chiefs, Denver Broncos. Like those are the three teams that I would be able to see within my market of CBS, Fox. And so I'm curious, like, will that happen in the future of college football? Like, will we see, like, if I'm living in Texas, like, will I only be able to see like TCU, SMU, UT Austin, Texas A&M, those type games that will be played, or would I be able to see other games outside of that? Like, I'm curious about that too.
Hmm.
So like the way that the games currently, which I have seen it obviously transition to this. So like on ABC and ESPN, like on a Saturday, it is now primarily SEC games, correct? Like SEC conference games. So would this possibly go back to like, so like a few years back, they would do like ABC primetime on Saturday night was pretty much like it would go to like wherever the best game was per se. Like it
Mhm.
used to be like they would sometimes do um Wisconsin versus Ohio State or like Michigan versus Penn State, and then sometimes they'd have like a Big 12 game, and I think they did like SMU versus Memphis one time. So like would this go back to being that way where like that network could disperse across like if there was a group of five game where both teams were in the top 25, they could go there? Do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
would because right now they really that has not happened the past two seasons basically because it's always an SEC game to this point.
that is so interesting. You're both bringing up really interesting talking points because the regionality of it, you're right, Jacob. Like if you live in Texas, are you only going to be able to see those games? Like for me, living in Texas, I can't usually catch a Cleveland Browns game on network television.
Yeah.
Like I kind of have to have NFL Network if I wanted to do something like that. And then like Lucas with what like you're saying, like it could be something like where maybe that primetime game goes like kind of like the NFL model where I don't love when we talk about college football and bringing it to the NFL style, but I do think the NFL does a great job with their TV stuff because it's like on CBS is all the AFC and then on Fox is all the NFC and then based on where you live is what the games you see and then at night it's always on NBC or something like that. Like it's always like this it's the same structure across the board. And I think that both of those things that you both mentioned would be good for the sport. Like, I want to be able to catch my team's game still, but I also would love it if the night game was the best game possible.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
everybody's working across the board. Like Ohio State, you don't have to play at noon every week. Like that would be amazing if that
Yeah.
didn't happen.
I mean, I remember like when they would do that, where it was like that they would travel. ABC was always at least between the couple years between like 2016 to like, you know, 2022, whatever it was that they stopped doing this, they would go to watch like, a Texas versus Oklahoma game. If it was Bedlam, would be the 3:30 or the noon slot, and ABC would have that. And then, it would transition to maybe the Fox game was at night. Like there should be that flexibility because right now it seems that like the big noon game is always Ohio State every time, and then it's like the Big Ten goes on to Peacock or NBC at night, and there's like nothing. It's always the same, which like going back to like when the SEC was at 3:30 on CBS, that's great, like to have that to always look forward to. But like I feel like right now there's not something that's like that. You know what I mean? Because the
Mhm.
Big Ten is across like three different networks. The SEC is across only at ESPN, so it's like there's not really that like nostalgic feel to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us would want that back. So I'm curious to know more details on that specific part of the bill, and I hope that we get to learn a little bit more as the coming months goes on. But we know that there are big midterms coming up in elections, and that usually halts things in Senate and Congress and Washington D.C. So we'll see what happens with this, and if any of it comes to fruition. But definitely want to get to some of the opening games, weeks 1 through 3. We have some game times already set up, especially ESPN and ABC. They set a lot of their games. Where do we want to start with this one?
Do we want to start with week 0 games? Do we want to start with? I'm
No.
good with whatever.
I mean, if you have them pulled up, I guess do it however you would like. I don't have them pulled up at the moment.
Yeah, I got them right here. So we got a big one, Hawaii and Stanford. I mean, that's a week 0 game right there. Like, it's not week 0 without Hawaii. We already know that.
Yeah,
But them going
classic.
to Stanford after what did they have, a 9-win season last year? Hawaii did. A
Yeah,
really fun year for them. I believe did they beat Stanford
Yeah, I
last
was
year?
gonna say, didn't they play each other on week 0 last year
I
in
think
Hawaii?
so.
I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So we got that one. Memphis at UNLV. That's a big American versus is UNLV going to the pack or are they in the Mountain West? They're still in the Mountain
They're,
West.
they're in the Mountain West.
Yeah, they're not moving. So that's a really big one as well. But I think the big couple ones are North Carolina versus TCU in Dublin, NC State versus Virginia in Brazil. Any initial thoughts on what some of these first couple games might look like? And obviously we get to see a glimpse at USC and Florida State as well.
Is that is North Dakota State now? Would that be their first game as a member of the Mountain West?
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, that's a pretty interesting game right there
Mhm.
because that's not really that bad. That's not a bad opponent at all in Jacksonville State.
I think North Dakota State might win by 30.
You
That's
think?
my opinion on where the Bison program is at. And I know Jacksonville State has been on the up and up, but Jack State was not competitive with the Missouri Valley Conference, which North Dakota State is coming from. Like I remember Youngstown was unseeded, Youngstown State a couple years back, and they blew the doors off of a seeded Jacksonville State on the road in the playoffs. And I was just like, these other conferences, they are not the same to the MVFC. So that'll be an interesting one for North Dakota State. I do think that they win pretty handily. I'm curious on what the line's going to be for that. It's at the Fargo Dome. Like, man, that's fun. That's fun.
I am really interested in the NC State and Virginia game. And I'm trying to remember. So Virginia got Bo Prabula in the transfer portal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did,
Well, now I don't know if he's going to
Wait,
be the
no.
starter though.
and did they also get Eli Holstein or no? He's still
Yes,
at Pitt.
I thought that they got both.
That is crazy, dude. Like that quarterback competition is going to be so wild.
Isn't that CJ Bailey? Is he not there?
CJ
He said
Bailey's
that.
at NC State, but Virginia,
Oh, you're talking
Virginia,
about Virginia.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Virginia got Eli Holstein and yeah, Bo Prabula. So I'm really curious to see what that that competition looks like. And whoever wins that job, I really don't feel like Virginia is in bad hands with either of those quarterbacks. Like I think both of them can get them back to the ACC title game again. And so I'm interested to see what Virginia looks like. Then NC State, on the other hand, they lose Hollywood Smothers, who I think was one of the most dynamic running backs in the country last year. And so I'm really curious to see what they do at that position specifically, but then also with CJ Bailey, I think he's a really underrated dual threat quarterback. And so I'm interested to see what he can do through the air, what their defense looks like, how do they adjust with the new transfers that they bring in. So I really think that ACC matchup is going to be really interesting, especially it being in Brazil. I'm really interested to see what that looks like. Do y'all know, is that like one of the first Rio football games like ever played, like college football games?
I don't know any other ones.
Yeah, so like that's cool in and of itself. So I'm curious. I'm interested to see what Rio does to like welcome college football into that city on a global stage. And again, like TCU and North Carolina is going to be fun again. TCU obviously blew the socks off of North Carolina last year in Bill Belichick's opening game. So really interested to see what that looks like. Obviously, TCU has a lot of turnover with Josh Hoover going to Indiana, and North Carolina, you just don't know with them. Last year, they were off at the beginning, kind of came on towards the end, but still just like a down season. So curious to see what both of those games look like.
The Ireland game is usually pretty cool too.
Yeah.
It's been
Yeah.
good the past couple years.
Yeah, it has been a really good matchup the past couple years. I wish that NC State and Virginia wasn't going to Brazil. Those schools are like 2.5 miles away from each other, or 2.5 hours away from each other. Like that's just crazy.
Yeah,
But
they
you're
can.
right. Like the last couple Dublin games have been fire. So it'll be interesting to see how TCU looks at quarterback, what year two of Belichick looks like at UNC. And then we got Sac State. They're traveling to Eastern Michigan. That's a MAC game, guys. Like, how do we
Is that
feel?
is Mike Vick still the coach at Sac State?
No, Mike Vick.
He's at Norfolk.
Yeah.
Norfolk. Norfolk. Who is the coach there?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the Sac
Yeah.
State lore yet.
I have
Yeah.
a question. So NC State and Virginia, if they're playing in that game, is there a certain instance where that does not count as a conference thing? Do you know what I mean? Because if it's week 0, because I think this happened last year with Iowa State and forget who they played in week
Kansas
0,
State.
but Kansas State. Yeah, is this a similar situation?
I think. I
Because
think.
that's a really big game for it to not
Ooh,
factor in.
I mean, you're so right. Like Iowa State, Kansas State last year, was it not a conference game?
I thought that it was not.
Because I think it was NC. It might have been NC State or Virginia. It was someone in the ACC last year who played another ACC team, and it wasn't a conference game.
Yeah,
Like,
because I mean this is a big matchup, and obviously if that's the case, that's already gonna throw a wrench in the ACC.
yeah, well, you know how the ACC is doing it this year. Some teams have 8 conference games and some teams have 9, like actual conference games, like because they can't figure out with 17 teams how that would work. So NC State does play 9 conference games or against ACC teams. So I imagine that this is a conference game, but you're right. It could be one of those situations where it's not. Either way, I mean, really sets the tone for, how your season is going to play out, at least in the early goings.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it'll be curious to see how ACC. I know they fixed their tiebreaker rules so that last year Miami would have gotten in if they have the current rules going into this year. But with teams playing different numbers of conference games officially, it's just whack. Like, it's so whack, so unfair. Like, I don't know. We also got a big Thursday slate for week 1. Like, nothing like super super crazy. But I mean, we do have Colorado at Georgia Tech. Like that could be a really fun one.
What was the game that was on a Thursday last year? Wasn't Nebraska playing in Arrowhead or something?
Yeah, Cincinnati.
Yeah, they won that game, right?
Yeah, barely on an interception on Brendan Sorsby at the end.
Yeah.
Travis Kelsey was so disappointed.
Oh my gosh. Like,
Yeah,
dang.
this is a
So
good Thursday slate. I'm
So
really
that's the
interested to
nightcap.
see what Georgia Tech looks like with Alberto Mendoza too.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Who's Colorado's guy next year? They
Uh,
I don't think they're going to be very good.
no. Do we think Deion Sanders is ever gonna leave? Like, I feel like I feel like if Florida State does not do well this year with Mike Norvell, which I feel like they will do well, but if they're bad, I think they could go after Deion Sanders. But like if Colorado's bad, why would you take him? I don't know. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good read read on a lot of these games going up. A good Northeast matchup, UMass and Rutgers. Hey, you never know, man.
Hey, yep,
You
that'll be
never
fun.
know. Then you get into a couple Friday games. Eastern Michigan on short rest gets to host San Jose State. So they're hosting two California schools
Wow.
in the first 2 weeks of the year. It's kind
It
of
is
fun.
Julian Lewis that's the quarterback for Colorado.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
the 5-star, yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Dude,
and we
Stanford has got a terrible schedule for
and then yeah, Stanford hosting Miami. Like so they get short rest as well.
When is that? That's a Friday night at 8 o'clock. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, Friday night, 8 Eastern. And then we get to see USC again. And I guess San Jose State also is on short rest. They go to USC in week 0. Yeah. And then they go to Eastern Michigan in week 1. That stinks.
What do we have confirmed for September 5th? That's my birthday.
Hey,
Oh, okay. Happy early birthday. We got
birthday pod.
Hey, we got Youngstown State at Kentucky. Watch out for that one. Watch out.
Dude, upset. Shock the world.
Shock the world. This is the real SEC Cupcake Week. Did you see Greg Sankey? They're getting rid of the November Cupcake Week thing.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Which
dang.
people gave them crap for that, but it's like everybody does it just earlier in the year. I didn't,
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. I kind of liked that they had it because it put the focus on like some other leagues for a week. But anyway, um, okay, what else we got? Oh,
Couple
Kent
of these
State's
games.
gauntlet starts, so they go to South Carolina.
The Kent State gauntlet. Oh,
Texas State at Texas, just a hop, skip, jump away. Like that's kind of
yeah.
fun.
Boston College
Um,
and Cincinnati's kind of interesting.
oh,
Hmm.
that is kind of interesting. Ooh, it is. Oklahoma State traveling to Tulsa. It's a fun little rivalry that doesn't get a lot of mention, I don't think.
Do we
Um,
Fun
think
fact,
okay, this UCLA Cal game is really intriguing to me because Cal has JKS still, I believe, their quarterback, who I really like. Like I think he could be a star this year. And then UCLA, they have the new coach Bob Chesney coming in from James Madison. I don't know like how quickly he can turn that program around. So that could be a fun matchup.
we've already got the Apple Cup here as well.
Oh dang,
wait,
already?
yeah. Oh man, early on.
What?
Dang.
I kind of hate that. I want it to be at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I
Fun
don't
fact, I'm
think
actually looking at going to that Coastal Carolina West Virginia game. It's in
really.
Yo,
yeah.
the
That would be a fun one to go
Chanticleers.
to. Yeah, Chanticleers. That'd be kind of a fun one to go to. Yeah. Going back to like the Apple Cup thing, I don't think every rivalry needs to play during rivalry weekend. I kind of wish that like maybe like the first week of November would be like Sun Belt rivalry weekend or something, you
That would be
know?
cool.
Yeah. Like maybe like some of the bigger conferences kind of take like whatever 2 weeks where they put some low level matchups together. Like maybe that's when you put your Alabama versus Mississippi State or your Michigan versus Northwestern. And then the other leagues get to have kind of their rivalry week, like early on, early
That
part
it
of the
would be cool if they could set it up like that. That would be a very interesting thing.
yeah, especially if like playoff implications were on the line. Like maybe that Saturday night game, like you talked about, Lucas, would be like, I don't know, App State versus Coastal or something. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Apple Cup being this that early is very strange. I don't know where the right timing is for that to be played. I mean, obviously it used to be cool when it was near the end of the year, but like you said, not all of them need to be in November.
yeah, it's hard to focus on all of them. When I think of like rivalry week, I think of like some of the big ones. I think of the Egg Bowl, even though that one's traditionally not a very big game. Like to the nation at least. So, but like I think of some games like that. Man, we got some MAC schools traveling to Michigan and Nebraska.
Yup.
Is that a tough spot there?
I don't know, man. Like Ohio's good, so that'll be a tough start for us. But I have faith in Calandria,
Nice. You got Ball State to Ohio State.
dude. Hey, tough matchup right there.
Hey, all I'm gonna say is this: South Dakota State going to Northwestern is not gonna be pretty. Not gonna
Chip
be
Kelly
fun for
Put
offense,
the under
Aiden
immediately.
Child.
anyone. Under immediately. Boise at Oregon.
Didn't they play a few years ago in Oregon? Or
Yeah, I
Ashton
mean,
Genty had an insane game.
why are they in Oregon again? Because then they never went to Boise.
I think it's a 2-for-1,
Huh.
possibly. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. They didn't go to Boise. Yeah, and think about this. If Boise would have won that game, because that game was insane, Oregon needed like two special teams touchdowns to win, and they were the 1 seed going into the playoff. If Boise would have won that game, they would have been the 1 seed. Crazy.
Yup.
There's the beginning of the Matt Campbell era at Penn State right there against Marshall.
That's I don't like that for him. I don't like that.
Okay. Colorado State could be fun with Jim Mora at coach. I think that I'm curious about that team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mountain
Yeah,
West.
a lot of interesting ones. Definitely want to talk about, as we like wind down today, like some of those like bigger ones that Lucas you tagged us in earlier. Like we talked about some of the week 0 ones, but Clemson at LSU, like that's a week 1 game. We've
Yeah.
seen that one early on in the season a few times. Like what's that one going to be like in Death Valley, the other Death Valley, the real Death
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a really good opening opportunity for Lane Kiffin for sure.
Yeah. And also a test for Dabo Sweeney too, coming off a down year last year. Like, can Clemson bounce back?
Valley. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Sam Levitt could do. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what Clemson's going to look like offensively, but LSU defensively, like, should be pretty solid. So that one's going to be pretty interesting. The other big ones, like LSU at Ole Miss, that one got tagged as well as a night game. In Oxford, that one's just going to be hell on earth. I don't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean if you want to look at more of like the ones that are just the ESPN and ABC ones, I think that I had tagged you in before. Let me see. Because if you keep scrolling through on this, it's just gonna show all these like random matchups. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's week 3 then. No, it's not. LSU and Clemson is on September 5th as well. Um, this is an interesting game. Arizona State at Texas A&M on September 12th.
hmm Yep. Yep. Gonna be interesting to see what that one looks like as well. And what other times did they give out? Wisconsin versus Notre Dame in Green Bay.
The new, I think, Colton Joseph, the new quarterback at Wisconsin, he played at, what was it, Old Dominion, I think. And I think he could be kind of an under the radar star type quarterback too. Good dual threat. I think he threw for 3,000 yards, 1,000 yards rushing last year too. So that could be interesting to see what Wisconsin can do with him.
Yeah. What does Wisconsin need to do this year for Luke Fickle to remain?
Uh, I don't know. Like, I feel like an 8-win season. Like, I think if they go 7-5 or lower, like I don't imagine him coming back.
You know they're gonna be like right on the cusp of a bowl game, and they're gonna beat Minnesota, and he's gonna stay.
Yeah, the Paul Bunyan.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it's going to go down. Actually, schedule isn't that bad. I mean, you dodge Indiana, you dodge Ohio State, you get Penn State, no Michigan.
Yeah.
Not terrible. That November is a cakewalk.
Yeah,
Oh my
I mean Michigan State at home and USC at home is both big for them.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your road, you go out to California once, but nothing crazy travel wise.
If you go back to that schedule that's on that Sunday, the 6th,
Oh
I
yeah.
cannot believe that they put both of those games at 6:30. I mean, you're not competing with the NFL yet. You could at least space that out to like 3:30 and 6:30 or 7:30.
Yeah, what?
So the NFL isn't on. They come on the week after.
I believe I thought so.
Hmm.
I
I
could
mean,
be wrong, but I don't remember last year when college football had that game that there was an NFL game on the same day because that was Virginia Tech and South Carolina. Yeah, no, the NFL starts on September 10th.
oh wow. So okay, that upcoming Thursday, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. Oh dang. Why would they do that? Because
And it's the same.
well,
It's not like they're competing. I believe those games are not the same network, but I believe it's ABC and ESPN now. I
and
know it's
Notre
not showing
Dame
up there.
might be NBC. That I feel like that game would be NBC Peacock. Well, not
Yeah.
Peacock, but
That's
NBC.
just still so strange to try and compete with each other when you're playing. You know what I mean?
I know we could have like an actual day of watching two full games on that Sunday, and instead we have to wait all day. And geez, that if they pull media rights, I don't think that stuff will happen. Like,
Yeah.
and then finally, SMU at Florida State. That's the Labor Day game. That is kind of like the Mike Norvell. What are we doing with you at this point?
Yep. Yep.
Man, what does Florida State have to be this year?
Kevin Jennings is still the quarterback for SMU, correct?
I think so, and
Yeah.
I think he's a dang good player. I think he's really good. I
Yeah.
think yeah.
For Florida State, I don't know. I think they 8-4, 9-3, like something like that to keep them around. I think they want playoff. Like they want 1-2 loss team. But I don't know if that's gonna happen. So I think he sticks around at 9-3.
I think if you get a bowl game that's around New Year's and you're not in the playoff and you're sitting at like 9-3 or maybe four losses and they beat like an SEC team or something, I think that that's probably good enough. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? 'Cause at this at the same time, obviously you're gonna want to. The goal is the playoff, but like I think that
Yeah.
if you're not in that position and you have like three losses, they play Alabama as well. So it's like how I don't know how exactly the expectations are gonna be looking for them this season, but I would say that if you went 9-3 or something similar to that, you're in a pretty good position.
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. I think you need to do a little bit more than just make a bowl for fans to be happy and content with what's going on, and obviously for donor money to keep coming in. Um, that's all I got on some of these early season games. I know we'll get to preview season as the summer goes on and whatnot. Anything else on y'all's end?
I got nothing.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, if you guys are good, we'll get the previews then.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Nice. So we'll probably do that. Man, coming up here, June's right around the corner. That's usually when we get into that kind of season. We'll start previewing some of the teams, conference by conference, league by league, and see what comes out the other end. See which athletic departments get mad at us online.
Georgia Tech again.
Georgia Tech again, probably.
Shout
Yeah,
out.
we have to be good to Georgia Tech, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got nothing else. It was a great episode. Great talking to y'all again, and we will be back hopefully sometime next week for Jacob Vanderford and Lucas Miller. I'm Brian Partika, and this is CFBT.